Hello everybody, Ian here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Set a Watch by Manor Games and developed by Todd Walsh. But first, let's go in and get down to the table and see how it plays. This video is brought to you by Meeple Times. Go to meepletimes.com to find many board games that buy one, get one half off. It's also brought to you by Game Booster, a Facebook group dedicated to find you the best deals on board games. Okay, so here we are down at the table with a game of Set a Watch set up and ready to go. Now, first thing I'm going to say is that no matter how many players are playing, you always play with 4 characters. That's because it is balanced to have exactly 4 characters. So if you're playing it solo, you play with all 4. If you're playing with 2 people, you get 2 and 2. When you're playing with 4 people, each person gets 1. And then if you're playing with 3 people, each person gets 1, and then there's like 1 floating character that you use as a group. Now, as always, this is not a full rules explanation. It just kind of gives you an idea of how the game is played, so that way you can know whether it is right for you. Basically, in the game, you're going to have 9 locations that you're going to be traveling around and fighting off monsters. In order to win the game, at the end of the final location, you have to have at least one of your abilities unexhausted. This is an exhausted ability, and this is unexhausted. Basically, it is just the back of an ability. So if you're able to have at least one ability out of all the characters unexhausted, you are said to be alive and therefore won the game. So it's much more about survival and mitigating damage than it is necessarily defeating the monsters, although defeating the monsters definitely does help. So what does a basic round look like? Well, first you're going to reveal the very top location. It has a few things on it. First, it has a number that changes the fire in the camp, and then it has a number saying how many monsters are going to be revealed this turn. And then it has some text, but for the sake of this explanation, I'm going to ignore this text right now. Just know that each location is very different and very unique, and so knowing what the location text says is very important. Then after everybody rolls the dice, you're going to choose one character in order to take camp actions. Now, since there are 9 rounds, the first 8 rounds, a character must take a camp action. And not only that, each character also must take the camp action exactly twice throughout the game. So you can't just take one character and send them to camp every single time. Everybody has to take their turn going to camp and taking camp actions. Let's say the cleric is going to take a camp action, so they're going to take one of these 2-sided camp coins to indicate how many times they've been to camp. And so we're going to place it right there to indicate that they have been to camp once. And then you can go ahead and take your dice and place them around the board to take different camp actions. I'm not going to go over all the camp actions, but just know that there is a character that has to take camp actions. And not only that, each character has unique camp abilities that are very unique to them and can change the game. So it could be very strategic to send somebody to camp specifically for their camp actions. Once the character is done taking camp actions, the other 3 characters must now set a watch. Basically, what that means is you're going to have monsters coming towards your camp, and they must fend off the monsters. So I'm going to go and slide this box just up to here, so that way I can go ahead and create the monster line right here. Now, if you remember from the location, it said we're going to have 5 creatures revealed this turn. It's going to be right here. So what you do is from the creature deck, you're going to reveal 5 creatures. I'm going to stagger these a bit because I don't have a lot of room, but normally you'd want to put them in some sort of line so that you can tell who is closest and who is furthest. Now, the reason you're going to do that is because this fire is very important to determine how many creatures are going to be revealed. And since the fire is currently at 7, it says right here that you can reveal 2 creatures. Basically, what's happening is depending how bright the fire is, depends on how many creatures are being illuminated, and thus you can see. So since we can see 2 creatures, we're going to reveal the first 2. We revealed a goblin and a zombie. Now, I'm not going to go over all of this, but each monster has very different and specific abilities. And so the game not only is managing their health, but also managing their abilities. There are different kinds of abilities. Some are reveal abilities. So basically whenever a creature is revealed, as in it is turned over or enters the line, you must immediately perform that, whatever it says on the text. Some, like the zombie horde, are ongoing, which means that their ability always takes effect because they are revealed. Then there's another text that says first position. Let's say this said for first position. Basically, if this monster were to become the closest monster to the camp, that would then trigger that ability. Okay, now that we've revealed the first two creatures, we can then start taking actions. There are essentially two different types of actions you can take in order to defeat monsters. One, you can take a direct attack. This is pretty simple. Basically, their health, which is in the top right corner, this, for example, this goblin says 6. You must spend one of your dice, which have already been pre-rolled, in order to damage that monster. Now this character is ranged, which means that this character can hit either the first or second position. Now this Beastmaster also is ranged, so I could actually take this 7 and defeat this zombie horde. Once again, I'm ignoring the abilities, which may take effect. I'm just ignoring it for sake of explanation. So since this zombie had 7 health and I had a 7 die, I was able to destroy this monster. He goes immediately to the graveyard. I'm going to put the graveyard just over here. Now when that happens, we immediately reveal the next monster, which in this case is a wolf. That is one way to defeat a monster. Now you don't necessarily have to defeat a monster with a single die. 2 characters can team up, so take these 2 3s on this dice can team up to defeat this goblin. And now those dice are spent and it can be defeated, and then we reveal the next monster. That is one way to defeat monsters. The second way to defeat monsters is actually with ability cards. Now there's 2 ways to use ability cards. One is to spend a die, and when you do that, you're able to activate that ability card. So for example, the Ranger has this ability card, defeat any unrevealed creature card. So I can defeat any creature card that is unrevealed when I activate this. So I can just take this creature right here and go ahead and defeat him. He is now gone, and that is good because he was a metal golem which had 8 health, which is pretty high. So I can just go ahead and defeat him and he's done. That's one way to activate abilities. The other way to activate abilities is actually to exhaust them. Now you can exhaust abilities basically by flipping them over, and then you're able to take that action. But not only that, you can also exhaust abilities that have a die on it. So for example, if I happen to have another creature that was unrevealed in the line, I can now, even though I've already spent a die on it, I can now exhaust the ability to essentially activate it for a second time to then defeat this creature. But as I said, abilities are essentially your health, so it is very important to do this sparingly, so that way you have your abilities so you can use them later, but also so you can have health during the last round. Now let's say I did not defeat these 2 creatures. I spent all my dice, I did everything I could, and I could not defeat these creatures. They would now do damage equal to this shield on the top left corner. They would do damage to one of my characters. Now, characters on watch always take damage first, so I would have to take 1, 2, 3 damage, and I do that again by exhausting cards. Now, like I said, I'm not doing this at all correctly because I definitely could have defeated these creatures, and I'm also ignoring the text, but just so you know, I was giving you an idea of how it's done. But that's not all. They don't just run away. What they actually do, and I'm going to push this back down, is they go into this location right here, which is called the Horde, and they're going to be placed face down into the Horde. Now, the reason why that's important is on the very last location, you are going to fight however many monsters it says on the card, but then you're also going to fight however many creatures are in the Horde. So basically, you can have anywhere from 9 to 12 creatures in the last location, plus however many are in this horde. So it can get very large. So mitigating this horde through camp actions is the best way to mitigate this so it's not very large. That, and obviously defeating creatures during the set of watch phase. So that's basically it. You do that for 9 rounds. One person goes to camp and takes camp actions. The other 3 set a watch, and you use your dice in order to defeat creatures and activate abilities, so that way you can survive, so that nothing enters the horde, so that you can survive for all 9 rounds. And that's very, very basically basically how you play Set a Watch. Okay, let's go and throw up my gamer's review and talk about this game. Genre and theming. So this is basically a tower defense game. You have your camp, which you have monsters running towards it, and you have your other characters fighting them off, either using dice for direct attack or ability cards. I personally really like this a lot. Now, is it kind of generic fantasy? Yes, it most definitely is generic fantasy. You have, your elf, and you have your rogue and clerics and whatever. But I like it. I like the way that you're moving across locations, and you're just trying to get to the end location to survive, basically. So while it is a little generic in its theming, I like it. I like it actually quite a bit. Now let's go and talk about art and components. First, let's talk about this, the box, which now I can't remember whether I did in my playthrough video or not, where I show you how it opens. But this is the game board, which I find really fascinating. It is a super small box that can fit anywhere on my shelf, and when you open it, it reveals the board. So there's where you place the horde and the unload locations, and there's the board. That's just genius, like absolutely genius. Now the one downside of this, I'll admit, I like to put unused components in the box, so that way I don't have a pile of just components. But I can't do that with this. I guess you could if you put these cards someplace else on your table, and then put the unused components inside the box, but that just looks messy. So not good at all. Well, sorry, it's great. I'm just saying that I can't put the unused components inside the box, so it feels a little. This one thing that I kind of didn't like about it. But other than that, the board feels nice. The character cards are actually really nice. Normally I don't like cardstock. There's some really thin cardstock, but I think this is actually pretty good. The cards themselves, as you can see, I've sleeved them. They're a little on the thin side, but I don't think bad. I don't think bad thin. I just think, the other games where I think they're thin and it feels bad. These don't feel bad. It's just not the super highest quality. So components, I think they're good. I like the wooden tokens. Oh, dice. I gotta talk about dice. Most of the dice are okay. All the 6-sided dice are okay. It's some of the 8-sided dice. So I don't know if it's gonna focus or not on this die. Let's see. I don't know. It might not focus. But so these numbers, these black numbers on this dark blue, are very difficult to see. Now when I'm playing solo, it's fine. It's honestly perfectly fine. I can easily pick up a die. But when you're playing multiplayer and you want to get an idea of what everyone else kind of has, that way you know what you can attack with, you can't see these across the table. I now have the 3 blue dice and the 3 purple dice across the table. I can see a purple 4 and a purple 7. That's all. I mean, this purple is either a 6 or an 8. It's a 6. So, it's very difficult to see. I wish they would have gone with a different color of the numberings. So I'm debating getting my own dice for that, just because of how hard they are to see. They look nice other than that. The dice look nice, just the numbers are hard to see. Yeah, I think that's it for components. I like these wooden tokens, these wooden camp tokens. Overall, the components are really good. The art's pretty good. I don't think there's any bad art, but I would, like I said, call it generic fantasy. So there's that goblin chief that I fought earlier, a wolf. So yeah, not bad art. Oh, let's show one of the characters off. So this is the ranger. I like the art a lot, actually. It's very dark, and I don't know how to describe it. It's very, very nice art. But it's generic, so that may turn some people away, but I do like the art. Okay, so art components, definitely good. I like them a lot, with a few caveats here and there, but minor gripes, honestly. Mechanics. I am not a huge fan of dice rolling. I don't know what it is about me. I'm not, whenever I play dice-driven rolling games, I always do poorly, and I don't know what it is. I fight other people, and they just kill me with dice, and I just can't. So I'm not a fan of dice games, but this one, it's more dice rolling, and then you use your dice for actions. I really like that a lot. A lot like Dead of Winter is another one that uses that mechanic. You roll the dice once and then you use them as actions. But on top of that, the abilities are amazing. You use the dice on the abilities. There's one character in the deluxe edition that you can actually take the lowest die and make it turn to the highest value on the die. I like that a lot. And there's a lot of little things that you can use a super low die in order to do some major attacks. So, and honestly, when you use abilities, I tend to use my lowest die just because I can save my higher dice for other attacks. So I do really like that. I like how the fire works, and then the monsters are revealed because of how bright the fire is. Very thematic, which I kind of didn't talk about that in the theming, but I definitely like the mechanics. There's a very mechanic heavy game, and I'm going to talk a little bit more with strategy, but I really like how the mechanics all mesh together just so you can survive through these 9 locations. So I like it a lot. Ease of play. It's pretty easy. I would say the hardest thing is when teaching the game, you kind of have to describe camp versus on watch. And because there's so many actions you can take in camp and so many actions you can take, so many ways to attack on watch, and the nuances of kind of how to combo abilities and dice and stuff on watch and even in camp, like it can become a little overwhelming when teaching it. But that doesn't make it hard. It just makes it a little more difficult when teaching. So it is an easy game, but I would say it is a little bit difficult to teach because of the 2 distinct phases, and especially like if you're saying, oh, you're going in camp this turn because your die rolls suck or your die rolls are really good, they have doubles, so, and that just may feel like somebody's sitting out when they didn't do anything wrong. They just rolled their dice, and they got to explain all the camp actions and kind of coach them even for a little bit to kind of make sure they do something that's not dumb, because there definitely are dumb moves you can make. Okay, so easy to play, easy, hard to teach, but once you play it for a little bit, it kind of clicks and you can start seeing all this stuff. So yeah, I'll say overall it's easy. Replayability, amazing. So this is my location deck. So there are 9 cards in here. I haven't counted the number of cards there are, but this is the unused location deck. It's still going, there it goes, that's the end. There are lots of cards, and each one is unique with the text and what numbers, how it affects the fire and the monsters. Each one is completely unique, which is great. On top of that, the creature deck, there's a lot of unused creatures. Let's see if I have them at hand. Yeah, so there's not a lot, but there's like 9 unused creatures that I didn't use. There's also a number of unhallowed cards that you don't use. So each time the game's gonna be a little different. For example, each game has had a completely different creature deck. Last game I played, we lost literally in round 4. So we didn't even make it halfway through when we lost. And when we were done, I looked at the creature deck and we just had a terrible creature deck. Creatures that kept spawning unhollows, creatures that just did terrible things to us. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is, yeah, it made it difficult for us, but it proves that you can take just through the shuffle of the deck, you can have a completely different game. We were playing on normal, but I've played on normal and won before, but your strategy has to change completely depending on your die rolls and also what creatures are revealed in the deck. So I really like the replayability of this game. Strategy. Okay, I love this game. And the reason why I love this game, there's a lot of reasons why I like this game. The mechanics are one of them, but the strategy is the second one. I love puzzly games. I have a game on my shelf that a lot of people don't like. This one right here, Founders of Gloomhaven. People don't like it. I love the game because of how puzzly it is. And this is the exact same to me. This game is is excellent. And you're looking at the monsters and you're looking at your dice and abilities and you're thinking to yourself, there's no way. There is absolutely no way that I am going to be able to defeat these 3 creatures with this health with the number of dice I have. And then you create a combo in your head. So, okay, if I do this ability and then do this die and then exhaust this other ability and then do this, okay, that one didn't work, and then you do it a different way, and then you find it. You find the perfect combo, and sometimes these combos are like 4 or 5 dice or actions long, and you find this combo of abilities and dice that just makes it and kills all the monsters, and there is such a satisfying feeling, like you did it. You did the impossible, because out of the 4, 5, or 6 different combos you tried, it was only that one that would kill all the monsters. And maybe there's another one you didn't think of, but that's what I love about this game, is each game is so different and each round is so different. And then, I didn't even talk about this. There's more characters. There's 2 more characters you can play with. These colors up here dictate the kind of dice they roll, whether it's 6-sided or 8-sided dice. And then obviously there's melee or ranged characters. And you can play with up to 3 of one type of dice and 1 of the other type of dice. I tend to go pretty balanced, 2 and 2, or 3 8-sided and 1 6-sided, because I like having more higher dice options. But anyways, being able to have those characters and then being able to have even more characters if you got the deluxe edition, all of this changes the strategy dramatically. Each time I've played it, I've played this game 7 times now, and each time I played it, I had a completely different experience, which I absolutely love. And then you just, when you get it right, it's so amazing. So, strategy, amazing. Last thing I'm going to mention, it's kind of didn't really fit in anywhere that I could think of, so player counts. You play with 4 characters, as I said, no matter what. It plays amazingly solo. I love this game solo. That's probably because I tend to love solo games anyway, but in solo, you can really just see everything and make these amazing combos. 2 players are also really good, just because each person has 2 and you can still make those combos and still really just clicks. 3-player and 4-player, while not bad, it's definitely different. 4-player, for example, each person has 1 character, and so you really are just focusing on what you can do, and you don't have as much ability to combo. Occasionally, you're still talking and trying to figure it out, so it can still happen. It's just not as apparent and harder to get to that whatever it may be, that solution. But also with 4, 1 person each round is going to be sitting in camp. So you're basically going to be sitting in camp and then just listening and waiting to see what everyone else does. You can still contribute in the conversation, but you're not physically taking any actions during the watch phase. With 3 people, I actually liked it kind of with 3. Because each person takes 1 character, and then whatever character is in camp is the shared character. And so you may be having, for example, if I'm the ranger and the cleric is the extra character, but suddenly my ranger has to go to camp. Well, I just take the cleric as now my character, while the ranger is now the group character for that round. Kind of interesting that you can kind of, switch it up and try to have different characters in the same game. So I kind of like that. But it's still not as good as 1 or 2. So I would say the more people you add, the less of a fun experience it is, but only slightly. Like, it's not bad. It's just what it is. So with that, what do I think of this game? I've already said it. I love it. I absolutely love this game, and I'm going to keep playing it a lot more solo. I'm going to play it lots 2-player. 3 and 4, I may or may not play it 3 or 4 ever again. Just depends on if I have a group that wants to play it with me. But easily, hands down, this is my favorite solo game currently, and so because of that, I'm going to give it an 8.2 out of 10. This is an amazing game, and I love it. I love Set a Watch. If you can get the deluxe edition, I would say definitely go for it because it comes with 2 extra characters. The Knight, I love the Knight. The Bard is okay. I don't like the Bard, but I do like the Knight a lot. And then it comes with some extra creatures and there's some extra stuff to make a game more variable. So I definitely recommend getting the deluxe edition if you can. So this has been Set a Watch, 8.2 out of 10. Absolutely loved it. Remember, I've been Ian. Make sure you like and subscribe for more reviews, unboxings, and general board game discussions. And remember, whether you're a light gamer or heavy gamer, always keep it fun.